Istanbul is more than a city. It is a meeting point of worlds. For thousands of years, empires have risen and fallen here. Religions have collided and coexisted. Cultures have blended, reshaped, and endured. Standing between Europe and Asia, Istanbul has always been a city that history could not ignore. Its story begins in the 7th century BCE, when Greek settlers from the city of Megara arrived on the shores of the Bosphorus. They founded a small settlement called Byzantium. At first, it appeared modest and unremarkable, but its true value was never its size. It was its location. The Bosphorus Strait connected the Black Sea to the Mediterranean, making Byzantium a gateway between continents. Whoever controlled this narrow passage controlled trade routes, military movement, and economic power. Goods, ideas, and influence flowed constantly through these waters, shaping the destiny of the settlement from its earliest days. Byzantium quickly became a strategic prize. Traders passed through its harbors. Armies eyed its position. Empires recognized its potential. Long before it became famous, the city was already destined for greatness, standing silently at the center of geography and history, waiting for the moment when the world would truly notice it. In the year 330 CE, everything changed. Roman Emperor Constantine the Great made a decision that would alter the course of history. He chose Byzantium as the new capital of the Roman Empire. The city was rebuilt, expanded, and renamed Constantinople. This was not merely a political move, it was a bold declaration of a new imperial vision. Constantine sought to create a city that could rival Rome itself, both in power and in prestige. Massive defensive walls were constructed to protect it. Wide avenues, public forums, and imperial buildings reshaped its urban fabric. Christianity played a central role in this transformation. Monumental churches rose across the city, redefining its skyline and spiritual identity. Among them stood Hagia Sophia, an architectural masterpiece unlike anything the world had seen before. Its enormous dome appeared to float effortlessly above the city, symbolizing both divine authority and imperial ambition. For centuries, Constantinople became the heart of the Byzantine Empire. It was a center of Christianity, scholarship, diplomacy, and wealth. Scholars preserved ancient knowledge. Merchants connected distant lands. Emperors ruled from a city considered nearly invincible, protected by walls that would withstand siege after siege for almost 1,000 years. But greatness attracts enemies. Throughout the Middle Ages, Constantinople faced relentless attacks. Persians, Arabs, and Slavic forces all attempted to breach its defenses. Yet the city endured. Its walls, among the strongest ever built, protected it time and again. Until the year 1204. During the Fourth Crusade, Christian armies from Western Europe turned against Constantinople itself. The city was captured and brutally looted. Churches were destroyed, treasures stolen, and the Byzantine world was left deeply fractured. Although the city was later reclaimed, it never fully recovered its former strength. By the 15th century, the once mighty empire had been reduced to little more than the city itself. Then, in 1453, a young Ottoman sultan named Mehmed II launched a final assault. After weeks of siege, the walls were breached. Constantinople fell. The conquest marked the end of the Byzantine Empire and the beginning of a new era. The Ottomans renamed the city Istanbul and made it the capital of their empire. Rather than erase the past, they transformed it. Churches became mosques. New palaces rose along the Bosphorus. Markets, schools, baths, and bridges reshaped daily life. Istanbul became a global capital, home to Muslims, Christians, and Jews, a city of diversity and trade. In the 16th century, under Suleiman the Magnificent, Istanbul reached the height of its power. It became one of the largest cities on earth, a center of law, architecture, diplomacy, and culture. Master architect Mimar Sinan shaped the skyline with elegant mosques that combined strength and beauty, none more iconic than the Süleymaniye Mosque. From its hills, the city appeared eternal. By the 19th century, however, the world was changing rapidly. The Ottoman Empire struggled to keep pace with modern Europe. Reforms were introduced. Railways, new laws, and Western ideas entered the city. European-style buildings rose beside ancient mosques, and tradition and modernity collided, sometimes peacefully, sometimes not. After World War I, the empire collapsed. In 1923, the Republic of Turkey was founded under Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. The capital moved to Ankara, but Istanbul remained the nation's cultural and economic heart. Today, Istanbul is a city of over 16 million people. Ancient walls stand beside modern skyscrapers. Ferries cross waters once ruled by Roman emperors and Ottoman sultans. Mosques, churches, and synagogues still share the same skyline. Istanbul does not belong to a single empire or a single moment in time. It belongs to history itself, forever standing at the edge of continents and at the center of human civilization.